So I think it's an interesting idea. I think it's a great concept. So you did the research, you pay the filing fee, you submit the application that you put together. Are there documents that they ask you for that go with the application?
Yeah, a lot of it is just self-certifying things, but
like what?
So they want to make sure that you have a compliance attorney, for example. So it's got to be somebody, top of my head, I believe it's 10%. They own 10% of the ABS. They have to agree to basically make sure that the firm, with regard to the legal services it's providing, is complying with all of the rules applicable to attorneys, right? And so that's where there's this interesting gray area where, we provide non-legal services, and so the question arises is whether those services are subject to the legal restrictions. So, say like trust accounts, for example, if we're collecting fees for tax planning. Does that mean that we have to put it into a trust account, right? And do we have the same confidentiality? A lot of confidentiality rules between the accounting profession and legal profession are similar, but certainly attorney-client privilege, doesn't apply in every situation. So we kind of have to. What we've done, our approach has been to take the more stringent rule, whether it's under the rules of professional conduct or under the AICPA or Circular 230 rules. Whatever's more stringent, that's what we apply for ourselves, and we apply it across the board.
So it's kind of when in doubt, put it in the trust account.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
a good rhyme too.
I did not mean to actually. Whenever I was thinking about it, I was like, I didn't think it'd be a rhyme, but that's some. I think it's probably sound advice, just because you don't want to. I mean, what's it going to hurt? I guess you can't put money in the trust account that shouldn't be there. So like there is a consequence to that, but you have a pretty good excuse for that. So you go through, you submit the documentation, and is there like a back and forth between the date that you submit everything and then the actual hearing date? Is like, so like they're asking for more information?
They asked us some clarifying questions. Certainly between those two times, you have a representative at the state, on the ABS committee who will process your application and presents you to the board.
Oh, interesting.
And so our representative asked us a few clarifying questions. We had done a pretty thorough job of applying, so she didn't have a lot of questions.
To clarify, so there's a separate committee, and then so you have someone from that committee that represents you to the board, and then you have a separate board that decides on whether or not you're approved.
Well, the ABS committee is the board, I suppose.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so within the ABS committee, one of the roles, or maybe more than one, is reviewing applications, and that's the person that kind of presents you to the ABS committee for approval.
Gotcha. Are these full-time employees of the state?
I've wondered the same thing. Yes, they are full-time employees of the state. I don't believe they're full-time employees of the ABS program, though. Which I think is why some of the fees. I think some of the fees goes towards their salaries, I'm guessing.
Are you, whenever you submit that $3,000 every year, are you reevaluated at that time?
You are, yes. The application process is a lot easier. It probably takes me, a couple hours and basically what it's asking is things that you would expect. Have there been any significant changes in ownership or purpose, things like that? But then it also basically asks you to reaffirm that you're meeting the committee's organizational objectives. Yeah. So providing access to justice and things like that.
If someone's considering doing it, are there things that they should look out for, some red flags, any advice you'd give to people that are considering it?
Yeah, I would say make sure whoever's doing this, whether you're doing the research yourself or getting advice, you're talking with somebody who's sat through some of these meetings before. And if you're applying for the first time, slow down a little bit. Make it a point to go on the ABS committee website and attend a few meetings just so you can see what they're looking for. Read the applications that have been submitted. You can get a feel for what other types of organizations have been approved and which ones have not been approved as ABS structures. And so if you like with a lot of things, a lot of times we think we have novel ideas, but in reality, somebody's done it before us. I find that to be the case here too, is go figure out what other ABS structures there are out there and try to model one, because if you model one that's already done it and been approved, you're most likely going to be approved as well.
So is it all publicly available online?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. So you can see everyone that's been declined, everyone that's approved. You just download the PDF, I guess?
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea that was a thing. What percentage of applicants are denied?
I don't think it's a very high percentage. I don't know off the top of my head, but certainly there are some that have been denied.
Are they capping it at all with number of ABSs?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah.
There have been much fewer applicants than I would have expected. I don't know how many there are active now. I think it's still less than 100.
Why do you think that is?
I think people find alternative ways to meet their same goals without formally, partnering with lawyers in these things. There's certainly all sorts of referral relationships and, informal business partnerships that you can get into that accomplish the same goals without the cost and additional. I think part of it is the additional regulation, frankly, because you can do a lot of the same things through a contract that's not publicly visible, and accomplish the same objectives. For us, like I said, we don't necessarily need this because we could operate as two separate firms, but the convenience of having my business partner who's not a lawyer be my formal business partner, and then the marketing part of it is very convenient.
So that's why it would make sense for a law firm to do it, because you can bring in that outside money which is nice. That is, so I think for anyone that's like they're wondering why a law firm would do it, because you could just get licensed in the state, or you could hire someone that is an Arizona licensed attorney. But if you want to bring in that outside money, that's pretty handy.
Yeah, and that's what most of the ones I've seen are for, specifically for that reason. PI firms that want to bring in an outside financer without having to go through all the red tape. The more interesting aspect to me is bringing in the outside talent and expanding legal services, expanding your services to go beyond traditional legal services. So business consultants, for example, there's plenty of people who have been real estate developers and done other things in business, taking companies public, things like that it's not law practice at all, but it's valuable services that a law firm can tack on to what they do and expand their scope of operations and services.